Well, the jailed Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim has had an improbable reunion with the man who jailed him in 1998. Anwar met and shook hands with Mahathir Mohamad in court on Monday when he was briefly allowed out of his cell to challenge a new security law introduced under the current leader, Najib Razak. Nurul Izzah Anwar is Anwar Ibrahim's daughter and the de facto leader of the People's Justice Party in Malaysia. And she joins me now. Lovely to have you with us this evening. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Give us a sense of what that moment was like for you personally and as a family when your father met with Mahathir Mohamad in court.
I think it was very surreal. We certainly did not expect Mahathir Mohamad, the former Prime Minister, to come to showcase support for my father's effort to stop the National Security Council. So when it happened, I think it caught everyone by surprise, albeit pleasantly so. And the fact that my father shook his hand and managed a warm smile, I think symbolized the importance of moving forward to strengthen Malaysia's democracy rather than focusing on personal suffering. Wasn't easy, but I think he led the way for us.
And that's, I'm pleased you made that point, because it did strike me that your father did show warmth towards a man who had really put him through so much.
It has been 18 years, and I think most people who went through the experiences of Reformasi or the reform movement back in 1998 understood that the erosion of civil liberties, the erosion of our judiciary was largely due to Mahathir's own doing. But having said that, we now have a new dictator facing us, and the fact that Najib's move to strengthen his powers, to be seen as more emperor-like, has forced many political alliances to shift and basically coalesce. And I think that's important. It is not, my father always reminds us to forgive. And I think this is an important first step. Much more needs to be done. But everything must be predicated on a commitment towards realizing reforms in our country. That's what I can say.
Now, you talk of what has to happen going forward, and this is a very difficult task for you. UMNO has said that this is just a marriage of convenience, and that it shows desperation on behalf of your party and the party that has now been formed by Mahathir Mohamad. It is going to be a very difficult battle ahead to really challenge the sitting government.
No one is denying that. We certainly have a polarized society. Malaysia is a 50-50 nation. The opposition won 52% of the popular support last elections. But what is important is this. If you talk about convenience, marriage of convenience, I would basically point the finger at the Prime Minister, who himself is supporting the bill to empower the Sharia brought by the Islamic Party, our former partner. So I think, the situation is very, very fluid, very dynamic. Mahathir's party has just been registered today. And for as long as we understand the need to unseat the ruling coalition, for as long as we understand there has to be a semblance of focus in having straight fights, we'll get that. It will not be easy. But the fact that Anwar and Mahathir has led and shown us the way is a positive step forward for the opposition bloc.
Do you think the developments of Najib Razak being exposed in investigations as the primary source of potential corruption with regard to one MDB might be something that does start to rattle the Prime Minister and potentially bring his government to account?
It's very important that the Department of Justice in the US and ongoing investigations, whether it's in Switzerland and Singapore and other countries, have unearthed the scale of corruption, the enormity of the scandal, and validated what Anwar Ibrahim has been saying since 2011, that 1MDB, is going to be abused and Malaysians would have to bear the brunt of it. So for me, the exposes, especially Department of Justice use of a kleptocratic government, the fact that 1MDB scandal, symbolizes the abuse by kleptocrats, is very damning for Najib, especially when he's implicated directly. Of course, the Malaysian official number one is everyone's kind of simple guess. So in a way, because of social media and the coverage of the news, many Malaysians are seeing, what usually is being covered up by the mainstream controlled press. That's an important development. But at the same time, I think our campaign has to go down to the grassroots. We have to make sure Malaysians in the rural areas, in the urban areas understand this is our best opportunity when Najib has been exposed in such a manner to exact change through elections. And we are preparing for snap polls. So we have to do a lot of work on the ground.
But also you have to prepare for potentially them ramping up the new security laws that are in place, that your father is in court trying to oppose, the fact that they may clamp down on protesters, clamp down on any uprising across the country in protest against the government.
You point out importance in fighting against the National Security Council bill. You see, before this, even to declare an emergency, we would have to go through Parliament and, of course, through a royal decree, the King's decree. But right now, Najib has effectively taken over the power. He has effectively, empowered himself, akin to an emperor, to strike fear in everyone's hearts. But the fact that both Anwar and Mahathir are together imposing this legal challenge, I think gives a lot of courage to everyone else. We're not going to be silenced. I'm assuring you, many Malaysians have seen this, have seen Najib being exposed to such a manner, and him utilizing this draconian, this unconstitutional law to silence dissent. And they're not going to be quiet. Bersih, the Coalition for Free and Fair Elections, have announced by November we will continue our protests. So for me, it's not going to be the same. Malaysians have seen how change has taken place in the states that have been controlled by the opposition. They have seen what corruption can do to the economy and their daily lives. And, it is time for them to embark on a new future. And I believe in their ability to fight back.
Nurul Izzah, Anwar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the flame